Wall Street is in love with new Disney CEO Josh D'Amaro, and we gotta say, he's rather impressive to us as well. Today, we'll dive into what he needs to do over the next 7 months to save the Disney company and fix up what Bob Iger messed up over the last decade and more. There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. And guess what? Josh D'Amaro had one heck of a first earnings call. Wall Street loves him. The stock jumped up, but it's nowhere close to where it was under Bob Chapek before. Still tracking around 106, 107, 108, and needing to go 160, 170, 180 to keep up with the broader market. Today we'll tell you what Josh D'Amaro must do to keep Disney flying higher and higher. Can he do it? Can he save it? Answers on the way. Click the like button and let's get underway right now. Coming to you from WDWMagic.com, Disney Experiences 2026 revenue hits Q2 record as guest spending rises 5%. It's been a great time for the Walt Disney Company as their stock is up 8% at the time of recording under brand new CEO of Josh D'Amaro, who changed the entire format for these earnings calls. We go into all the minutia, the details of it, but it'd be kind of boring. But just know that the way he and Bob Iger handle things, completely different. Whereas Bob was a weatherman, wannabe showman, it turns out that Josh D'Amaro is more like, I don't know, Mr. Rogers. Walt Disney World fans and Disney investors got to look at the company's financial performance for Q2 fiscal 2026 today, and it marks a notable milestone, the first earnings call under new CEO Josh D'Amaro. The results beat prior guidance with stronger than expected revenue growth, driving the outperformance across all three business segments. But today we're looking at the parks. D'Amaro, who previously led Disney Experiences, now heads the Walt Disney Company alongside Chief Financial Officer Hugh Johnston, a.k.a. Mr. Wall Street. And don't forget that Mr. Gorman of Morgan Stanley runs the board now. The Bob Iger era has truly come to an end. Disney reported revenues of $25.2 billion for the quarter. And note as we say this, that of that $25.2 billion, we've looked into the stats and it looks like to us, and we'll show this to you in a little bit, $6 to $7 billion of that comes just from theme parks. Huge. It says it's up 7% from the $23.6 billion in the same quarter of last year. Income before income taxes rose 9%. Total segment operating income increased 4% to $4.6 billion, aka that's the profit. But here's what you need to know. Disney Experiences records another record quarter. But how did they do it? How did they do it? Well, let's see. It says segment operating income came in at $2.615 billion out of the experiences part. That's cruise lines, hotels, and definitely theme parks. Per capita guest spending at domestic parks was up 5% in the quarter. But if we go down one paragraph, look at this. Domestic park attendance dipped 1% year over year. And this is the part where Disney admitted Epic Universe is having a major impact on them. And that's even before Epic opens up annual passes and what we expect to see nighttime, separately ticketed events at Epic Universe, probably on a regular basis, which could bring Epic up something like 50 or 60% in attendance. That will be amazing. So how is it that Disney dropped attendance but gained in spending and revenue for the parks? How could that possibly be? Well, folks, if we go over here to the actual data from Disney, you can see that if we look at this from Disney, they've got theme park admissions at a 6% increase. And how did you get a 1% decrease in attendance, but 6% increase in theme park admission revenue?
Raise the prices.
That's right. They've raised the prices like crazy, even more than inflation. That is how they're doing it. That's how they're increasing their revenues. So while we're here to celebrate, yay, go Disney, go investors, you're making more money, it's off the backs of families who may have already had this set aside as the time they were going to go visit Disney. Culture, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on Disney beating expectations, but it's kind of just because they're beating up the wallets of their biggest fans.
Yeah, and I think that's detrimental to the company overall for the future. But I see hope. I think Disney's starting to get the memo that people are starting to rebel against filling the voids of their occupancy problem, because they're not just losing the regular guests. They're losing the on-property guests, particularly at Disney World, because you can actually get last-minute rooms and things like that a lot easier than you used to be able to do. A 4% jump, all these other things that are driving the media right now are not necessarily what's actually happening. I think Wall Street sees a little Bob Chapek in Josh. Bob invested quite heavily and intelligently in the future of Disney, which is why the stock popped when Chapek took over. Remember, it was at its record high with Bob Chapek in his just under 2 years of him being in the job. He invested about $24 billion into the company between the parks and resorts and obviously the streaming and stuff like that. He also streamlined production and centralized it at the same time so that they had an overriding authority where they could evaluate its merit and make decisions based on whether or not they wanted to make it. I think that if Josh were going to pursue that path, I think that would also lead to Wall Street getting very excited. It looks like he's going to invest in the future, but as far as earnings go, they're going to have to figure out how to scale back on the costs to the guests, or they're going to have to invest in the perks again to make it more worth the guests' time and money.
Now, did you say parks or perks there, Culture?
Yes, I said perks. Perks are something that you used to get for free. The items that increase the perception of added value. And I think that's something that they need to look forward into back to when the parks were really hot and they were increasing attendance year over year. I think go ahead.
Some of those perks had a double-edged sword for the company in the sense that perk, you get a free ride from the airport on the bus. Perk for the company, you can't go anywhere else. Doubly important in the age of the headwinds from up north. You know, so, and my other question when I was watching all this was, they talk about greatly expanding the cruise line, like 13 ships or something like that. How much does that cannibalize park attendance? How much does it become an either or for a family to take a vacation this year?
Phenomenal question. That is a phenomenal question. And I'll go back. Let me see if I can pull this up so people can see this. When we break it down, you got theme park admissions accounts for now in 2026, $3 billion in a single quarter, $3 billion just in theme park admissions. That's just the tickets. Just you cross the ticket line, right? When it comes to parks, experiences, merchandise, food, and beverage, we're at 2.1 billion. Okay, so that's 5.1 billion now. Really, it's 5.2 billion. And then park licensing and other is another 670. So you're closing in on, at that point, $6 billion just directly from theme park stuff. Now, not hotels, not DVC, which would even be more. Sitting inside the resorts and vacations is the cruise line. So even though the cruise lines are doing well, Lou's right. They may be taking away from the theme parks in terms of, honey, do we do a cruise? Do we do the theme park this year? Even still,
especially
theme parks are massive, gargantuan compared to them.
But especially when you consider that the trip on the cruise includes the food, includes all the other stuff that's being bought in separate categories here.
I think there's one thing we're also not discussing, which is what the day splits look like. Because this kind of pricing structure is creating an either or situation for a lot of consumers and fans of both places. But I think that you're starting to see the split down the street happen more frequently. I'm going to tell you, I'm more interested in going to Epic Universe, and I'm going to be using my DVC to do that more than I am going to use it to do anything else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And a lot of the stuff at Disney World currently is under construction. Wiz, though, I want to bring up the Chapek thing again. For those who don't know, Bob Chapek was the CEO very briefly between Bob Iger #1 and Bob Iger #2. Bob Iger largely had him kicked out. And one of the ways that Chapek went down is he tried to moderate the Disney company. He didn't want it involved in politics. But then when there was pushback, he acquiesced. He was afraid. He didn't handle it the right way. He didn't come down with an iron fist. And I don't know if that's always the right call, but in that case, the people who were out to get him, they didn't want him just to not moderate the company. They wanted him ousted and they wanted Bob back. In this case, Wiz, there was a lot of worry that Dana Walden was going to be a co-CEO de facto at Disney. It seems like Wall Street and tomorrow have put that to bed. We haven't heard a single thing from Dana Walden since any of this happened. There's been no PR, no interviews, no nothing. She's gone. Wiz, is that the right way for them to go forward?
I see it in two possibilities. I think on one side, I think we're not out the woods yet. I think it's still extremely early on, and Not so much as they're giving him a chance, but it's more like we need to see things happen. And then the other side, it's very much possible he could still be replaced by Dana Walden. I think that's on the table until he's retired, frankly, or she retires. Or on the other side, the money people are stepping in. If we look at Star Wars, if we look at Marvel, if we look at there is desperation starting to finally creep into this company in places in product. So I think there's a very strong reality that there are the money people are starting to say, Josh, you're going to change things. You're going to allow people to change things.
Let me add a little color to that, Wiz, just to add to what you're saying, because you're exactly right. If we look at the theme park stuff, right? So $6 billion off of just theme parks, and Walt Disney World makes up the large majority of that. What's the lowest performing theme park at Walt Disney World? Hollywood Studios. What's supposed to be driving people to Hollywood Studios?
Star
Wars. So it's this idea that, hey, we've reached the point now where Star Wars and Marvel and Pixar, their damage is damaging the other parts of us that have been holding it all together through the woke era. And I think Wall Street, as you said, I think Wall Street is taking charge of this company. I think Josh D'Amaro is being protected by Wall Street. And I think Wall Street has had enough of what's been destroying Star Wars, Marvel, et cetera. And that's why this next 7 months are so important. Wiz, what do you think we need to see over the next 7 months that gives us that idea? Because it won't be movies, right? All the movies that are coming out this year, they were approved, they were greenlit by Bob Iger. All of the TV shows, same thing. So we can't base Josh D'Amaro's future on what happens this year. What do we need to see behind the scenes that tells us moves are happening?
I have to be completely, I don't know if I could point to one specific thing, but I could point to what we can't see, right? I can't say like, oh, they need to just do this thing with Star Wars or this thing with Marvel. I think the normie audience has left. I've said this before. The normie audience is what they need to recapture. It's going to be virtually impossible to do that. What they should not do, however, is allow people like Dana Walden or like Kathleen Kennedy, who's gone, or like Bob Iger to make any more decisions with this company. The decisions that these people make, whether it be political or personal or whatever the narrative is that they want to run with, it doesn't make money. Dana Walden and the rhetoric that she brings to this company does not generate money. And this is a company that desperately needs to generate money. So we get away from that and we move into recapturing and relearning who is the normal audience. Who are the normal people out there? Because it's clearly not like them. It's not the people in the writer's room. It's not the people that are making decisions. It's certainly not the corporate executives, and it's certainly not the marketing department. They have no idea who the people are out there that want to give Disney money. I would say us included, even on this panel, like we want to love this company again, but they have to earn us back. And in order for them to do that, they need to figure out, well, they have to reach us. They have to reach, and not even just us, the normal folks out there who aren't as invested in this as we are, right? The normal people are like, people need to see Mickey Mouse again or the Disney company, and they need to think, I like Disney again. And that's not going to happen. And there's radical changes.
Here is how we will know if it's working. And it's going to take a while. We are going to have to see as these new things at the parks open, like Encanto and all of that, like Villains and Piston, whatever. We got to see how that affects attendance. Because remember, the whole deal was that Galaxy's Edge was going to boost overall park attendance by a huge amount, and it didn't.
Right.
It didn't.
Exactly right.
And that's going to take time to sort itself out. But will it be I went to see it because it's the new thing, and now I've seen it, I don't have to go back? Unlike people who rode the Mark Twain for 50 years.
Well, and
let me throw it over to you this way, Culture. I'm very interested in what you say to that. But I also want to say to folks out there, as you get ready to go, we've been called Disney haters. People say, well, you guys are addicted to being negative. You're grifters, blah, 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 blah. And none of that's true. This company, despite the great earnings report they had today under Josh D'Amaro, and it may be a brand new, it's a brand new D'Amaro under D'Amaro, it's still down 40% versus where it was before Bob Iger committed the mutiny. So, Culture, we don't have any way of reporting accurately on Disney without being negative because they're in the whole 40% of the past 5 years, whereas the broader market is up. So that delta is worse than the 40% you see.
It's worse because of inflation too.
Oh, absolutely.
$107 doesn't buy what it used to, even when now that it's moderated.
So Culture, what are we looking for in the next 7 months for Josh tomorrow to get this turned around?
I think we look at the new areas being redeveloped with characters like, let's say, BlackRock, Spire, and Batu, whatever. They have 7 names for Star Wars land now, but anyway, if you look at them bringing back the old trilogy characters, and that generates more interest in that area of the park. If you look at what the effects of all their changes is having, what kinds of articles are being written, articles right now are focused in on just how much the company is robbing you every time you go to the theme park for what they have to offer because so many attractions are unavailable to guests. So if all of the buzz around the theme parks in particular starts to turn around, and then they start to get more quality shows and films out to the public, whether it be through streaming or through theaters, whether or not it's going to be a shift in the perception of the public. And at the same time that there's actual, increased revenue growth that isn't driven by merely price changes. Again, I think Disney minus actually hurt themselves with another price increase. I think Netflix did the same. I think every time that the market sees price increases without any appreciable gains, I think they're going to become more and more concerned. Because the value isn't there. And look, consumer value is measured by, how much people, love or appreciate your company or your brand. And I think we've separated ourselves a very long way from that for a long time with Disney in particular. And I think that again, it all comes down to value. I'm sorry. It is what it is. If people do not perceive value in what Disney has invested in recently, or if they don't increase the value of what they've invested in, I think that's going to go. I think that's going to go very badly for them. But if they can increase it, which it looks like they're willing to try and do, perception will change, and people will end up, being enthusiastic about going to these parks again.
Let me give you 3 forward-facing things, real quick, Culture. 3 forward-facing things that I think Disney could do over the next 7 months. Yeah. Now, I'm not talking internally, okay? And we can go into the nitty-gritty of finances on Disney. I don't know how many people are interested in that. We can go there, but in the forward-facing, the public can see it. Here's 3 things I think they could do that would signal Josh tomorrow has it figured out. Because I don't think he's an abrasive guy. I don't think he's going to come in and shake the company and, we're going to get lots of articles. He doesn't seem to be operating that way. He's a very cozy fellow, right? He reminds me of how... what's his name? The guy who did Overwatch. Jeff Kaplan. He reminds me of Jeff Kaplan with the fireside chats about Overwatch, kind of. He's very gentle. 1, Josh tomorrow could announce that, or whoever he wants to have underneath him announce, that they're bringing the original trilogy characters for Star Wars to Galaxy's Edge on the East Coast. And then he could announce that it's permanent for both locations. And then they could offer a special event where they're going to reskin Rise of the Resistance, where it's based on the original trilogy for a limited time only, all the while knowing that if it's really popular, we're not changing it back. Okay, there's option 1. Another thing they could do, they need to signal that the legends that got kicked out in the woke era are welcome back at Disney again, that the geniuses that gave them their success are no longer persona non grata. And one way they could do that, this is just one example, make John Lasseter a Disney legend. You fired the genius of your generation for hugging. Get over it. Call John Lasseter, make him a legend. Take the hit in the articles for a day or 2. It'll be okay. They hated the Michael movie. You'll be okay. And then finally, the third thing I would say, Jimmy Kimmel is determined to get fired. He wants to be fired because Jimmy Kimmel, the only thing that he wins with is getting fired, because he has 1 year left on his contract. He's about in his new contract. He's got 1 year and he's going to be slowly faded out with no big celebratory triumph tour as he goes down. So Jimmy Kimmel wants to go out in a blaze of glory. Phase him out now. Move him to Hulu. Make him Hulu exclusive. Do whatever it takes to diminish the damage he's going to do, since he wants to go out that way. Hey, Wall Street, move him to Hulu. Do whatever it takes to make him less capable of hurting the company. Panel, what say you? Culture?
I think the Kimmel move is probably brilliant. I think you put him exclusively on Disney Minus instead of Hulu.
Claim the Trump administration has made you do it. I don't care what you got to say. Get the people who are going to hate it on your side. Make yourselves in the victims. I don't care, but get them on Hulu.
Well, it like you said, it's a great way to take any kind of FCC issues off the table. It's a great way to basically just write down the cost of his show, because it's not going to be advertiser supported anymore, other than on whatever streaming packages you put it on. I think that's probably the best low impact way to get rid of him and just increase his cultural irrelevance. I think it sends a message to other people in the sphere to not behave poorly, and find your way back to the middle so that you have a broader appeal. I think that's probably the smartest idea I've heard about what to do with Kimmel.
Yeah, claim the Trump administration's after you. You can't lose the network. They made you do it. Blah 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 blah, and get him off there.
Can I briefly challenge the John Lasseter idea?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I don't know if that moves the dial at all. I think this company is so. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do. I'm saying I don't think that moves the dial at all. And here's why. Go out on the street one day and ask, do you know who John Lasseter is?
Uh-huh.
And I think people today don't know who he is. Millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha won't even know who John Lasseter is. They have his legacy has been so memory hold. We have come such a long way from that. I think if things like that will send signals through the trades, and people like us will talk about it. They need to make content that changes the conversation. And that's the only thing that they can do. That's the only possibility.
The quick defense, Wiz, when I say make John Lasseter a legend, that's a single picture in a broader movement that needs to happen.
Right.
What I'm actually talking about is, okay, for example, Tony Baxter, legendary Imagineer, the guy who made Splash Mountain, the guy who gave Disney Star Wars in every way you can imagine it. Literally, without Tony Baxter, there is no Disney-owned Star Wars. They give him no credit. They maligned him. They kicked him out. All of these guys, it's not just John Lasseter. It's all of these people who are true geniuses who got kicked to the curb based on internal politics. Bring them back. You put Tony Baxter back, and I know he's retired, but you have him come back and teach the new generation of Imagineers the right way to do it. You celebrate the John Lasseters. You go to the people that you decided you didn't want to have be part of your team. You go to Johnny Depp. You say, Johnny, you hate our guts. We're not even asking you to come back as Jack Sparrow. What could we possibly do? It's new leadership here, Johnny. Is there any project we can fund for you? That's the kind of stuff you do, is you go to the people who made you successful and you say, we're deeply sorry, and we're going to start fixing this. And whether the normies and the kids understand it, the people in the business will understand it, and it will send a signal, a ripple through the Disney company down to the bottom that says, we're not aiming for the quotas anymore. We're aiming for the meritocracy. You be excellent. That's what we want, and we're going to celebrate excellency again. We're not going to celebrate what it is you do in the bedroom.
I dig it.
Me too.
I think it's all wonderful, high-minded, noble, and irrelevant.
Oh, you got me, Wiz. Take me back again. Lou, here we go.
And I'll tell you why. Because if you did every one of those things, first of all, you've got to get rid of scores of people. When you say teach the Imagineers that are there now, the Imagineers that are there now are all these people that were hired for those reasons.
Right. And
Unqualified.
they hate meritocracy. They hate the patriarchy.
And second of all, you won't see any results of any of that for 5 to 8 years.
Longer.
Yeah, I agree there. Yeah.
And so you can do all that and make points with guys like us who know better, but it ain't going to affect the bottom line very quickly. And Wall Street is a cruel mistress when it comes to that bottom line.
Okay, so I'll take the pushback, but what do you guys think about the Kimmel aspect? And we're going to talk about Kimmel.
The problem with Kimmel, though, once upon a time, we didn't identify individuals by corporation. They were by their individual acts. If you put Kimmel on Disney Plus, you're really telling anybody who is the last 12 people who don't know that what he does speaks on behalf of the Disney company.
That's why you got to move him to Hulu. He can't go to Disney Plus.
I think he has to go to Disney Plus because Disney Plus is irrelevant. I mean, it more and more irrelevant to give him a smaller audience.
Can't be associated with Disney, and you just got to take the loss.
Oh, all right. Well, isn't Hulu part of Disney?
Yeah, but it doesn't say Disney on it when he's over there saying this stuff.
Well, okay, then stick him on FX. Or FXX or whatever's left.
XYZ.
Yeah, whatever it takes. And it'd be interesting to see the contract.
Nat Geo. He could go on. No.
I don't think you could stick him anywhere. Wherever he goes, he's going to create more problems. And he's not worth it. He's not generating the money. These are small potato things.
Millions of dollars a year. He's kind of like releasing Snow White and Wish. He is a giant sinkhole of cash that they just set on fire. And
it takes a lot of impetus to move the needle, but when it does, it moves for good. And if I am A, faced with theme park prices that are up 10%, and B, faced with everything else that's costing more, and C, have this wonderful outfit called Universal down the road, and on top of that, if I go to the Disney parks, I'm supporting the guys that give me Jimmy Kimmel. All I'm saying is there's some back-breaking straws here out there in the general population, and who knows which one's going to be the one. But you add them all up, we're talking lots of money.
Let me make a wild suggestion.
Wild.
Are you ready?
Get wild, culture.
Okay, reverse some of the capital cities deal. Sell off ABC.
Oh yeah.
There are investors right now calling for them to sell off ESPN instead because the NFL deal is about to get really, really expensive in 2030.
It's not just, it's going to get really expensive because the NFL wants to force a renegotiation of the rights deal. Not to mention the fact that, the FCC is now going to be taking a very close look at whether or not the networks and the studios had the right to move the freely broadcasted football games from their airwaves to the now isolated islands of streaming services. There's a lot in the background that's being looked into. I think you need to if you're going to be a cable and internet streaming, you need to focus on that. Get rid of your networks because that's an anchor that should be on its own ship. How about that?
That? And if what you do best is get people to theme parks and hotels and get them to buy stuff, why do you need all the rest of it? Once upon a time, all of that stuff at the theme parks came out of the movies, but they're not making any movies that matter anymore.
No.
And they're destroying the franchises that they've got, that they paid a lot of money for. Yeah. So the synergy, the flywheel, they used to call it, the connection, is going away. And, it wouldn't be a terrible thing to just be the world's greatest theme park and cruise ship company.
Well, but that's what they eventually evolved into, right? And the biggest problem the fact that they no longer have a connection to a flywheel. They no longer honor the past. They don't want to make book report rides, which are the ones that were most popular. Think about what Fantasyland was and why it was popular. Think about the fact that it had staying power of over 50 years. And yet, that's all true. And Fantasyland did not have Snow White 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No,
it didn't have Peter Pan 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It had all of those things collected in a spot, but they were each their own thing. Now they need some new IP, gang. Everybody out there needs some new IP. and they need to make a lot of it to see which one sticks.
Well, that's what's funny about that, Lou, is the last time Josh had one of these calls, he said, we're going to make new IP inside of old IP. Those were his words. They're just going to keep making the same thing over and over.
So they're going to do what? They're going to do Dory, the untold story.
Yeah,
they're going to do, I mean, you know, come on, guys.
Well, let me tell you what I think they're actually going to do. Real quick.
Jawa's adventure.
What I think they're going to do is something that is very fascinating in terms of they're going back to what Chapek told them to do. And Iger put on ice.
That's what I said.
It's fascinating to me to see tomorrow come in, and we got hints of this today. Did you guys hear them talking about the new Disney Plus? Did you guys hear them talking about an investor was asking about this, about the idea that there's going to be this new, Disney Plus is going to be plussed up beyond what it is today? What if I told you that this was something that was being worked on back in the Chapek era, and we reported on? Wall Street Journal also was reporting on it. That Park Place was reporting on it. I'll pull up the Wall Street Journal, and I do that for a particular reason. I'll explain in just a moment. August 31st, 2022. Again, back in the Chapek era, Disney explores membership program like Amazon Prime to offer discounts and perks. And this was about Disney Plus, where they're going to turn Disney Plus into not just a place for watching your shows and movies, but to buy stuff, to buy all kinds of things, to play video games, et cetera, et cetera. And look down here. At the same time that Chapek was trying to institute this Disney Plus plan, what was being covered? All the protests to take down Chapek over the Florida thing, which was the cudgel to get rid of Chapek.
Well, if they have Dumbo-shaped drones to deliver to your house what you buy, that'll...
So I think what's happening, yeah, that would be fun. I think what's happening is Josh tomorrow's going back to, and Wall Street's going back to what Chapek had planned with a giant Disney Plus concept, where it's essentially the Disney store online, but it's also everything else Disney. You plan your theme park trips, your cruise trips, all that on a single giant app where ESPN and Hulu and Disney are. A gigantic Disney Plus. I think this is why they've been trying to find a way to get vertical AI, generative AI into the Disney Plus app and have kids creating content for it. This is what they're after, the Disney Super app.
Well, was that what he was really talking about when he was talking about technology as the third arm of, sure, right. Of course. Yep.
Wiz, I'll give you the final word on it. Disney Super app. Josh tomorrow, going back to the Chapek era. What do you think?
I think it won't. I think it's a great idea from a business aspect. You want to have everything all in one place. I think it won't matter unless you give people an emotional connection to be willing to buy this stuff. We just watched. So we've had two finales back to back here. We had Maul 2 nights ago. We had Daredevil last night. Both of these shows were garbage. So now, just imagine you're watching these finales. You just spent weeks watching these shows. You get to the finale of a show, and it's terrible. And then it pops up on screen. You want to buy a Daredevil mask? You want to buy a Darth Maul lightsaber? It's just add insult to injury. Until Disney has the ability to make good content again, it does. The only people that this is going to work for, Pro, is the Disney super fans who are already buying the stuff. So I think if this is the path they're going to go down, and they've kind of understood, we don't have the ability to make stories that buzz with normal audiences anymore. So we are just going to have to triple, quadruple, 10 times double down on the people that are already giving us money. But that's terrible business practice, because guess what? Those people aren't around forever.
Right.
Those people aren't around forever. You need new blood. And this generation of Disney is the worst. I've never seen a company that is so antagonized by trying to connect with Gen Alpha. I've never seen a company that desperately needs to win the next generation fail them so badly.
But they're aging. You're pointing out something that I've acknowledged for a long time. They're aging out of the boomers. That means the grandparents and great grandparents aren't as psyched to take their great grandkids and their grandkids. They are not taking them to the films. They aren't. They have different types of involvement now. And then the generation that follows them, which is mine, Gen X. Same problem. These people are aging out. They're looking at retirement. They're frustrated by the world around them, and they've become frustrated with Disney because it's no longer even a shadow of what it once was. So now they've alienated those two generations from, being super fans, and they're the only ones that can afford it, because every successive generation after that are having difficulty just buying houses, and paying for gas right now. And again, it's all because of political garbage at the same time as that they are releasing nothing but political garbage, and they have nothing original. And look, I mean, it's a great idea to say we're going to create IPs from IPs, which just means tireless spinoffs. But at the same time, who's really interested in that? If the kids don't have a connection with Star Wars, like Gen Alpha, as you describe, or anything else that's, should be a baseline for Disney, then what do they have to trade upon with that generation? I think you're 100% right. But these are all the results, and Lou was right to point it out earlier, of previous shots at what their fan base was, and really kind of driving people into these super fan communities that are incredibly toxic to the overall brand value. They've got problems three ways to Sunday, and I don't know. I hope Josh has a plan to fix it. This super app's not the way to do it.
Bottom line, folks, if you look at the pop that we've got here on the stock, it's a good day to be Josh tomorrow. I mean, there's no way around it. It's a good day to be Josh tomorrow. Wall Street loves him, and he had a very good earnings report, and he made significant changes to the way it was delivered, I think in a way that are positive for the stock versus Bob Iger. However, what we're talking about is, if you look at the 5-year, Disney's down 42.27%. What that means is that Josh tomorrow has his work cut out for him. He needs many, many of these kinds of days, and he's got 7 months until the end of the year to continue plugging away at fixing all the holes Bob Iger put in the boat. Can he do it? I don't know, but Wall Street is voting on him. And it is time to put a bow on it, for this one, folks, is a gift to everybody who wants to know exactly what's going on in the entertainment industry. And we are so joyful that you were there to receive it. We hope that you had a great time. An attitude of gratitude on this channel every single time you decide to spend time with us. As we get ready to say goodbye, we only ask a few simple things. Click that like button, share, subscribe, click it, and stick it to those algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, so waste not yours. And folks, as you get ready to head out that door, do you have a place on social media that you love to share this sort of thing? Hey, you can make this YouTube video sing by putting it out there for your friends, your family, and for those weirdos who just won't leave you alone. Folks, until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.